Alright everybody, welcome back to Critical Minds, and today's episode is going to be on Season 6's Episode 12, called Identity. I hate this episode with a fiery passion of death, and that's what this video is going to be about. How much I hate this episode. Let's jump right in. Alright, so I'm basically just gonna jump right in, go zoom past the plot, because the plot's kind of dumb anyway, doesn't really matter. First things first, they find some dead dude who fell off of a fucking building in gang territory onto some dude's car. He's dead, has like some sort of saliva on his penis, figured he was raped then dumped, I don't know, something sexually based, so that's why they're there. Anyway, so they're like, oh, it's from this street gang called, I think, Stone Cold Assassin, which, I mean, I guess it's a nice gang name. I just don't feel like they'd be so obvious about it, but, whatever. Anyway, they go around trying to ask what's going on. They hear about this dude who had a history with this other chick who had, like, a rape allegation against him or some shit, but she dropped the charges. So they go to talk to her because they think that she killed him because he raped her or some shit. She's like, nah, I didn't do it. There's a bunch of other girls that he raped too. It wasn't just me. They go find out these other two girls who are straight up in this Stone Cold Assassin. They're like 16 years old, trying to look like they're 30. Not 30, more like 25, with these bandanas and their nails done with the fucking Stone Cold Assassin on it. Like, I'm sorry, do you want to get caught? Anyway, they look stupid as hell. The actors are terrible. Oh my god, the actors in this episode are so bad. I mean, I feel like Dick Wolf knew that this one was gonna hit the fan. They knew that this was gonna be shit, and they just hired the shittiest actors of all goddamn time. Anyway, so they ask them about whatever. I don't know. I don't even really remember much because I was too mad about what happened at the end of the episode. But I think they said something about some deaf woman who was there, who was always up there or some shit. So they go and interview this deaf woman. This deaf woman runs the fuck away. Because she's like, oh my god, like, I'm gonna die or some shit. Like, she didn't want to tell anybody what happened. So they're like, well, fuck, now we gotta go find this deaf lady. And there's this super nice nun who works at this shelter who helps out working girls and, like, homeless people or whatever. And she's super nice. I like her. In this episode, I still like her. Anyway, she's like, I'll talk to the deaf lady. I'll bring her into the precinct, get her to talk. Well, sign, you know what I mean. And, we'll get things rolling. And they're like, okay, fine, because they trust this nun. She's always good. She knows what she's doing. And it's all good. Next day, bam, she's dead. Not the nun, the deaf lady. And the nun's freaking out. She's like, they motherfucking killed my baby. They killed my girl. That's not what she said because she's a nun, so she can't really say fuck, but I don't give a shit. Anyway, so she's like, they killed my friend. She dead. Like, what the fuck? And then she identified him. He gets caught. Then they find out that, like, the saliva on the dude's penis was, like, a male saliva. So they're figuring, like, some dude, like, was, like, having sex with him or some shit. And they're like, oh, now we gotta find a dude. And I guess it's not this deaf lady. But the deaf lady witnessed something. And as she was dying, she was, like, signing the sign. She was doing the sign language for graffiti. So they were like, oh, I guess it was somebody who was doing graffiti then. And then I'm like, okay, first of all, y'all be jumping to some serious conclusions. But okay. They go try to find out what's the newest graffiti there. They find out it's this, like, graffiti on the wall that's, like, almost done. They didn't finish the tag, but the tagline is, like, something real specific. It's called, like, Psycho or something. So they go find this kid who's in school. He's, like, 13, maybe 14, some shit, but he young as fuck. And I'm like, ooh, poor boy, what'd you get yourself into, right? They go to him, and they're like, well, what are you doing on that rooftop? Why are you doing this? What's going on? Why is your, like, signature up there? And he's like, I didn't do shit. I haven't graffitied in years or months or something. I don't know. He had community service. He stopped. He was all done. He was like, it wasn't me. And they're like, but it's your tag. And he's like, well, it's not finished. Maybe it's not me. Maybe it's someone who's trying to be like me, because that's not me. And I'm like, okay. boy, you better tell the truth, because it's getting damn near close to being you, and you just lying right now. So they're like, look, man, it looks exactly like your signature. It's got to be you. Let me take your DNA. They take his DNA. It's him. Bam, boom, bang, right? It's all done. Nope. When they try to arrest him, his sister, who's his twin sister, by the way, is like, where you taking my brother? What the fuck? Hits freaking, what's his face? Elliot Stabler in the back with a candlestick. I know it sounds like it's straight out of Clue, but like, my God, she had one hell of a swing. Anyway, so he's like, well, we're bringing them both in. And then they're like, well, let's take him down to a psychiatrist or whatever to get them evaluated or some shit. And I'm like, okay, I don't know why you have to get them evaluated, but fine. Like, honestly, I don't think they really need a therapist per se. Maybe they just need like a nice quick talking to, you know, because they're just mad. Like, dude's about to get arrested. Like, I'd be mad too if someone was taking my sister away. But like, just give him a minute. But apparently they did need one, because like, apparently they suspected some sort of incest or whatever, which I think was like a hella reach, because I was like, I don't know if it's all about that, but I mean, you want to go there, you go there. I mean, this is just a story, you know, they're trying to push the plot along. Fine, I'll go with it, I'll roll with it, whatever. But anyway, they're talking to the girl twin, and she's like, oh man, you know, like, I was the one that did it. I don't want my brother to get in trouble. And they're like, okay, first of all, it's literally impossible. You were a girl. The person you killed was a boy. And she's like, no, fuck you. I did it. Man. I'm like, girl, you need to chill the fuck out. It's not that serious. Okay, I mean, I guess it's that serious. But then again, the way that they came up with it is that it was like self-defense, and that they wouldn't really charge him if it was self-defense, because, you know, he was probably raping him or something or whatever, you know? And I'm like, okay, this is self-defense. Why are you doing this? Like, you're kind of really just fucking up the investigation for your brother. Like, what the shit? So, anyway, what happens next is the psychiatrist, who's like a friend of Olivia's or whatever. She's like, look, I can't tell you, but there's something really fucked up about their medical records. And they're like, okay, I'm gonna need a little bit more than that. And I'm like, I'm gonna need a little bit more than that too if I want to like follow on with the story. How about you just tell them off the record? But then I remember that confidentiality of patients and medical records is like a serious thing. I think it's called HIPAA or something, like HIPPA. I'll put a link in the description as to what that is. But essentially, like a basic thing of it is that they can't give out your medical records without your permission. But I'm like, come on, I want to know, you know? So it's like, I don't know, a couple days later or whatever. And the psychiatrist is like, boom, here it is, I don't give a shit. And I'm like, ooh, yay, you're willing to give up your license for my entertainment. Anyway, so she gives it to him, and boom, bang, boom. Turns out that the parents, right? Okay, first of all, they were talking to the nannies, and the nannies were like, there's something odd about this girl, you know, she only wanted to play with trucks, and she only wanted to wear a dress, and they were putting pills down her throat or some shit. And I'm like, shoving pills down her throat? Like, what, is she sexually active with, like, the father or something? Is that what this is? And they're trying to make sure that she's on birth control or some shit? Like, I'm not really putting this together. In retrospect, I really should have, but it turns out that on the birth certificate, the mother had two boys, two identical twin boys, and then 6 months later, it's changed to a girl, and I'm like, you've got to be motherfucking kidding me. 6 months later? Okay. This subject really pisses me off because it somehow simultaneously fucked up transgender rights and also advocated for it. Like, it's like they're half right and half wrong all at the same goddamn time. Like the fact that you can identify with your own gender at birth, and then if you just switched it on them, it's not going to change anything because that's how you are. But then at the same time, it's like saying that you can't fully change someone into a woman, and then this the shit with that goddamn psychiatrist. Okay, first off, apparently what happened is that they were trying to circumcise their sons, which I personally don't think that's necessary, but that's my own thoughts on it. I'm not even gonna get into that. But if they hadn't circumcised him, none of this would have happened. But anyway, apparently the machine, I guess it burned him or something. I don't fully understand how circumcision works. I'm a girl and I have literally all girls, so I've never seen a circumcision. But apparently it burned him severely, so they were like, oh no, you'll never have a normal life with a burned penis. And I'm like, okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to literally make him go through sex change at like fucking 6 months. But okay, we're gonna continue on with this for some ungodly reason. Anyway, they're like, what if he gets made fun of in the locker room for his burned off penis? And I'm like, it would honestly make more sense to just homeschool this kid if you were that fucking worried. If you were that fucking worried, you would have homeschooled your kid. And he's like, but what about if he tells the love of his life he can't use his penis no more? And I'm like, if he's the love of his life, then he wouldn't care. And they wouldn't care. Then I'm just like, look, man, you can't take that choice away from a kid. The kid is literally a baby. You can't put a baby through a sex change and then expect it to just be okay. Like, you could have been lucky and like that kid would have already been trans in the first place and then we wouldn't have to be here. But lo and behold, it was a cisgender male and now you're fucked. Like, why? Like, at least wait. You know, at least wait some years. It'd be different if, like, they said that it would, like, the baby would be in excruciating pain or something. Like, the baby, like, he would be in pain for the rest of his life because of his penis. Then I'd understand, you know. Fine. Castrate him. Make sure that he's not in pain anymore. But you don't have to make him a girl. You don't have to give him estrogen to make him a girl. That doesn't make any fucking sense. You have literally taken the choice that child could have had in a later date when they're old enough to understand what that is. But at like 2 to 6 months, that's fucking ridiculous. I mean, look, it's like they continued on with this all the way till she was like 13, and now she has boobs because they were giving her estrogen, and they were giving her estrogen, and I'm just like, oh my god. And then at the same time, it's like, I get that they're trying to show that was wrong. But at the same time, they're also telling you that, oh, you know, just because he inherently plays with trucks, or just because he inherently doesn't like to wear dresses or whatever, instantly makes him a boy. And then there was like a moment where, like, as a girl, she kissed another girl, and then, like, I guess they thought that she was lesbian for a while. But they were like, oh, but that must mean that she's a boy or some shit. And I'm like, oh my god, no. You can be a lesbian, you can be straight, you can be trans and not like the opposite sex of who you ever assigned yourself to. You don't, orientation and sex are two different things. I mean, this whole fucking episode was like a giant pile of fucking bullshit. Like, I get that you were trying to make it interesting, but like, the whole montage of them talking to the nannies, and they were like, well, there's something off about the boy. Or there was like this whole thing where they would like come home from the therapist and then they'd go to like separate different rooms or some shit, and then like they'd never talk to each other for like days at a time. And then, you know, the quote unquote girl twin, because, you know, obviously she identifies as male because that's how she feels. But anyway, he was like angry as a child or something, and, you know, like, one of the nurses was like, oh, her mom would buy her such beautiful dresses and she just ripped them right off, and or whatever. And I'm like, okay, my daughter doesn't like dresses, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean that she's trans, and it doesn't necessarily mean that she isn't trans. It doesn't mean anything because they're fucking children. You know, like, that's not something you can really decide or figure out right now. It may mean something later, but right now it doesn't mean anything. Like, it really doesn't. Like, my kid wears fox costumes and witch outfits and all kinds of crazy shit. Like, she doesn't give a shit. And when the time comes when she's old enough, she can identify as to whatever the fuck she wants to, because it's her choice. And it's her choice when she's old enough to understand what that even is. Because a baby has no idea as to what gender is. Like, not even a little bit. They have no understanding of social constructs that come along with gender identity. Like, pink for girls and blue for boys. Babies don't understand that. I mean, the only explanation I can have for the reason why she didn't like dresses, or the only reason why she didn't like, or she only liked to play with trucks or something, is the fact that they tried to ingrain into their other son's soul that he was a boy, and ingrained into her brain that she was a girl. And I guess she wanted to live the life that her brother had, because she knows that he's a boy, and she identified as a boy at an early age like that. Maybe that's why she ripped off dresses and wanted to play with trucks, because of this, what they forced down her throat, I guess. But at the same time, it's not really helping the cause as to what transgender really means to people, and it's just a huge fuck up of everything. I mean, it's like they're trying to explain it, and they're trying to be nice about it. They're trying to get people to understand what being trans means, but it's so behind on its time, and it's, I mean, this is season 6, so this is like, what, 2005? I mean, I hope that they would understand more those days, but I guess not. But, what's crazy is that's not it. That's not all of it. So, Olivia's therapist friend is like, you gotta talk to that therapist. That therapist is some really crazy ways. And she's like, well, I mean, what he's doing isn't necessarily illegal, even though he's the one that told the parents to do that to their child, and also made them have mandatory visits to talk about their problems or whatever, or to have some sort of therapy. And then the twin that was always a boy, he comes in, and he's like, my therapist molested me. And I'm like, oh, fuck me. So he's sitting there, and he's like, he used to make us pretend to have sex with each other. And I'm like, you've got to be motherfucking kidding me. Like, what in the actual shit? Why? Why? Oh, why would you think that was a good idea? I have no fucking clue. I was so passionate about that, I had to sing it because it was so ridiculous. Okay, so they bring him in, and he's like, well, I wanted to make sure that they knew that she was a girl. And they were like, why'd you have to bring the boy into this? And he was like, oh, well, I mean, because he's the twin, it's a perfect match for her to see what she's not supposed to be. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, where are you going with this? He's like, she needs to understand her role. And I'm like, ooh, let me stop you right there. What the fuck you mean by her role? And I'm like listening to him talking, and basically what he's saying is that, she's the girl, she needs to be penetrated by a male. So he's not, trying to help her out he's like the worst person for transgender rights, okay? Like, literally the worst person. He was like, oh, gender is determined by by nurture, not nature, or some shit. And I'm like, oh my God, please stop. And he's like, it's learned. I'm like, it's the social constructs that the gender identity. Okay. It's like, you can see yourself as a guy and love your dick, but want to dress up as a woman. That is someone that may want to be a drag queen. That's what they are. Most of them like their dick and want to dress up as women. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. You can have a dick, dress up as a woman. You know what else is fine? Dressing up as either. That is called not binary, because you're neither. You don't give a shit. You just want to wear whatever the fuck you want. There's also gender fluid, but I'm literally just gonna leave it in the description. I'm too fucking tired and irritated from this episode to explain everything, and I'm pretty sure most people on the internet can explain it to you better. Well, maybe not most people. Some people might be dicks about it, but I'll leave links to good people. Anyway, it's like, he's like, oh, but she's got to understand that she has to be having sex with boys, and I'm like, but what if she wants to be lesbian? And it's like, like, half the time I can't process fast enough all his bullshit for me to come up with answers as to why it's bullshit. I mean, like, to be perfectly honest, the detectives are more focused on the fact that he made them do sexual acts in the first place, and I understand that's kind of their job. I'm mostly focused on the why and the what and the what the fuck. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I was waiting for him to say that he was gonna have her in a kitchen cooking up pancakes for her kids. You know, like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. Doop 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 derp or some shit. You know, and I'm like, first of all, this brings up some serious fucking bullshit plot holes in whatever the parents thought. Because they're like, oh, what if he can't be, what if his burnt penis is gonna offend his girlfriend in the future? I'm like, okay, first of all, since you transitioned him into a woman, he cannot have children. Ever. You could have left him his balls and he would have still had fucking semen to have children later in life, and he would have had a normal life after that. If he found someone who loved him beyond his burnt penis, this wouldn't be a problem. He would be able to have a normal life with children and he'd be happy. But you didn't do that. Now he's trans, and your whole point about him... Sorry, that was my Google Home. Anyway, the whole point about you trying to have, like, him have a normal life with, like, whoever he ends up with and blah, 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 is now out the window, considering that you, A, castrated him, and then turned him into a woman who, A, can't have periods, and B, can't have children. Like, I feel like your whole point was that he would have some sort of cookie-cutter life or something where, you know, oh, he can have, like, a wonderful family and, you know, and everything would be normal, but you just flipped it on him. He could have had a normal life out of abnormal situations, but would have had a normal life. You've now changed his gender to something he didn't want, and also made it impossible for him to have children when he could have in the first place. They never said anything wrong with his testes. They just said his penis was burnt off. He could have had children. He could have had children. You took that from him. You took that choice away from him, and it's like you were trying to do the right thing but didn't think it through. And I don't even think they were trying to do the right thing. I think they just wanted their child to have a definite proper life that they wanted specifically based on what they think that is. And I'm just sitting here like, just because he would have had to go through some, like, a little bit of heartbreak over what happened to his penis, you know, doesn't mean you have to turn his life completely upside down. You know, becoming trans is not easy. You know, it's not, you know, oh, you just jump from boy to girl. It's not like that. It's a long process. It's a long time, and you have to be willing to do it. You know, people don't just jump back and forth because they feel like it. They do it because it's who they are. It's their choice to become who they are. You know, some people don't have the money to do that, and it's excruciating being in the wrong gender. And since it's not covered by pretty much, I don't think it's covered by any insurance. You know, a lot of people just float around feeling different, feeling wrong, and you've forced that on that child instead of giving them a choice to do it to themselves if they wanted to later. And apparently he didn't want to be trans, so now you're here and now you're fucked. It's like, it's so wrong. But, anyway, I guess back to this weird-ass therapist. I mean, he was like, well, I mean, like, they gotta, you know, realize their sexual roles or some shit. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't think you realize, as a psychiatrist, I feel like forcing two siblings to do sexual acts together is not, it's kind of counterproductive. It's like you think you're fixing one thing while creating a whole nother fucked up thing. Like, at this point, if you were just left it alone, I don't think anything would have happened. I honestly think they would have just been fine to the extent that we're already at. They're not fine, but they wouldn't be worse. Like, you could have just left it alone and she'd be a tomboy and then they just have to deal with that. But no, then the parents would be like, well, she's supposed to be a girl and now she thinks she's a boy. And then, like, what killed me is that they were like, he said it would work. He said that the transition would work and if we were committed to making her a girl. I'm like, that's not how anything works. That's not how anything works. You can't force someone to be something that they're not. And what's killing me is that they're making me feel like I'm saying transphobic shit. And I don't like that. Like, I know what I'm saying isn't transphobic, but they're making me say arguments that people have against transgenders. That, you know, you're supposed to be the thing that you're born with, or blah, 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 blah. And I don't think that's true, but I don't think you should force someone to change from the gender that they were born with if they don't want to. If they're cisgender, they shouldn't be transgender. If they're transgender, they shouldn't be forced to not be. I don't think it's really possible to not be transgender if you're transgender, because transgender inherently means that you don't identify with the gender you had at birth. So you can't really do that. It's like the show is just, I get what they're trying to do, but they're forcing you to think a different way. And I feel like people who don't understand transgender sort of situations, they're going to assume that everyone should be who they are when they're born because of this episode. You know, you can't force them. You see, they changed him and he turned out to still be a boy. And I'm like, but the whole point is that you can't change him because that's who he is, and it proves that you're who you are at birth. It doesn't matter if you change them, but it's the whole point is that they're trying to teach you that it's your choice. Well, not your choice, but you can't force someone to do that. But then at the same time, it's like, I feel like you guys probably already get this. I'm going around in fucking circles. But it's aggravating. It's teaching people about transgender rights and just transgender in general in like the completely wrong and opposite way. I mean, it proves, it like I said, it literally proves and disproves everything about transgender. And I'm just like, why? Why do this? Why make an episode so fucking complicated and so fucking stupid? Like, I just want to throw my TV. I want to throw my TV so bad right now, but I can't. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't like saying things that go against transgender, even though that it helps it. This episode has gotten me so jumbled and so upset because the writer didn't do their research properly. And if they did, or if they added in certain parts, this is why I wish BD Wong was here from the fucking beginning. He would have explained this shit. I fucking love BD Wong. BD Wong is the best goddamn therapist they ever had on this fucking show, and he would have explained it. He would have explained it so much better, and I feel like that's why they brought him on. And I'm gonna make a character review on BD Wong, because he's the fucking shit, and I love him. But he would have explained that, you know, it would have been a throwaway line, but at least it would have been in there. You know, oh, it's okay, you can be transgender, but, you know, sometimes, you know, you can't change who you are, and if who you are is cisgender, then that's that. You know what I mean? But they didn't have that in there. They had this other psychiatrist that doesn't explain that, and I'm just like, why? Why couldn't I have BD Wong? I want BD Wong back. Hashtag bring back BD Wong. But what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Am I supposed to recommend you skip this episode? Am I supposed to recommend you watch this episode? I'm gonna go with watch it with caution. And watch it when you understand transgender. Watch it to understand what's wrong with it. Because if you're one of the people that don't necessarily believe in transgender, and want to use this episode as a reference to prove that it's not possible or it's a choice, then that's not okay. I don't think this is a good source considering it's a TV show. I don't think it's a good source because it's incredibly wrong, and I'm pretty sure they don't have sources at the end of the episode either. But I don't want to stop people from watching it if they want to. I just hate this episode so much because it shows so many things wrong with the way that people think, and I'm just glad that it was early SVU and not current SVU, because that would have pissed me off more, because current SVU is supposed to be better. It is more PC, considering it is, Special Victims Unit. It's kind of about that PC culture. It's about how to treat people properly. It's about understanding what even doing that is. And if this was here, it would ruin it. It would mess it up. But what they did do later in the series is they had another episode with the transgender girl who was pushed off of a bridge. It was a sad episode, and they constantly acknowledged it. And there was one character, Creasy, he was like, "Oh, I don't understand, why would you do that?" and blah, 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 blah. And Amanda was like, would you do this? Would you do this unless it really came from a place that really mattered to you? In that sense, would you do this unless you really felt like you needed to? And he was like, no. And then she was like, well, see, there you go. That's who she is. She is a woman. And you wouldn't go through all of that pain and heartbreak for nothing. You wouldn't do that just to get attention. That sort of attention can kill you. And that's what I really liked about that episode, is that it taught you that. And I feel like the writers were like, they probably saw this episode identity and was like, okay, let's change it. Let's teach people the right way. And I feel like they tried to sort it out with this episode, and I kind of really appreciate that, because they kind of fucked up on this one. Alright, everybody, thank you for watching this incredible shit show. I don't want this to deter you from watching any other SVU. This episode kind of just aggravated me. The rest of the episodes are pretty good past the 6th season. Before that, it's every once in a while you get a good one. I do still recommend this show. Watch this show if you want to see. Watch this episode if you want to know what happened specifically, but it is kind of shit. I hope you have a good time listening to me. I feel like sometimes I can rant a little bit too long, but I really appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys on the flippity flips.